everyone, and welcome to another edition of Deal. Tremont Jackson here. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's great to have you here. Today, my guest is the one and only Mr. Andy Dulin. Andy Dulin was first elected in 2005 and is now serving his third term in Charlotte City Council. He vice chairs the Budget Committee. He's a member of the Government Affairs Committee. Dulin is a residential real estate broker. He received his bachelor's degree from Appalachian State University and is a fellow with the North Carolina Institute of Political Leadership. Recently, Dulin decided to run for a congressional seat, and he's with us now to talk about his direction he wants to take the country.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. Nice to see you, friend.
Thank you.
You're nice to have me over here this afternoon.
Thank you so much for coming. First, I want to talk about, it's 11 of you guys that are running for in this district with Sue Myrick. What makes Andy Dulin different than everybody else?
One thing, there's a passion in me that makes me different. And the others, I'm not saying that the others don't enjoy the job or want to go serve, because it is a service-related job. But I've got a passion and an energy in me for service to people, regardless of who they are, whether I know them, whether I don't know them. I've proven that now. I've actually started my 4th term on the Charlotte City Council, and I've proven that over the last 6 years. I'm starting the 7th year of complete laser-pointed customer service. A lot of people use the term constituent. I don't see the people that live in Charlotte as constituents. I see them as customers. And one of the things that the government has done wrong is they've gotten the buying and selling equation wrong. The government needs to be servicing and taking care of the customer, and that's the voting public.
At some point, you can do that here with your district, but why Washington, out of all places?
Well, it turns out Sue Myrick's 9th Congressional and my city council district lay right on top of each other. We've been serving the same people as long as I've been on city council. And at least once a week, somebody will call me with a federal matter. And I listen to them, and then I explain to them that that's something for Sue's office. And I give them the number. And she takes it, or her people take it right away. In the same, once a week, I'll get a call from somebody within Sue Myrick's organization that somebody needs some help, and they had contacted her. So I'm already working on some of these issues. And the issues, they're larger at Congress, but they're the same issues. Keep the people safe, make sure we try to cut spending, and so forth.
Yeah. So I'm sure you laid out a platform for the people in that district, and really it's a district. It's a relatively large district considering the new way the lawmakers redistrict everything. That being said, what are some of the issues that you want to put forth if you make it to Congress?
Right. Well, I just mentioned a couple of them. And on the city level, protecting the people, fire and police protection, that sort of thing is job one. Yeah. Well, the same thing on the federal level, protecting the people. Now, the people at a congressional level it's a 3-county district, and we're making decisions that affect the entire country. But keep the people safe is number one. And I'm also going to go up there. We've had awful spending priorities the last 10 or 12 years, or 50 years, some people would say. But going up there and being strong on cut spending is something else that's very important. And that trickles down to college kids, because if we go, there's nowhere for you to go after you graduate from college if we mess it up. And right now we're messing it up.
I was going to get to that segment a little later on, I guess.
Yeah.
We can talk about it now. You're absolutely. College students, the economy is really bad right now, considering almost 8% unemployment rate. What do you say to a college student right now that is getting ready to graduate in May and June? And
well,
what is the best advice you can give them?
Well, I can tell you, I graduated from Appalachian in 1984, and in the late 70s we had a recession and gas prices jumped under President Carter's. You guys might not even, you certainly weren't alive when Carter was president, but you might have heard of Carter. But we had a recession then, and the nation came out of the recession. We had another recession, a little dip down in the early 1990s. Now you guys were alive in there, but you were kids. So now we came out of that. This recession of 2008, 2009, 2010 was worse than those. and there's more people that have been hurt by those, of course, the foreclosures and so forth. But what I can tell the college kids is, while you're in school, keep your head down, follow through on your work, follow through on your job if you've got a job working while you're in school, and then get out there and work harder than the other guy to get a job. Have your resume ready, make your calls, and then if you tell somebody you're going to be somewhere for an interview, show up for that interview.
How important it is for college students to be able to have a great deal of understanding of policies, because you guys are making these policies and they have no clue what's going on, which trickle down to being able to vote.
Right. Well, unfortunately, college kids don't care. But that's not unusual. Most of the people out in the community don't care. So one of the things that we have to do, and one of the things I've been good at, is making paying attention to what's going on in local government worthwhile and a little bit fun. I mean, I know a lot of college kids that are surprised to find out that I'm a Republican. And it's not because of my policies. They just think Republicans are stuffy, you know, and just not any fun, you know. And I've got 3 sons, and we have a ball. And I'd like to have fun with kids, and our family has fun. One of the things we need to do as elected officials is make it more appealing to college kids to want to pay attention, to want to be involved. And I think that's another way, coming back to a previous question, that I stand out from the other crowd, because I've got the ability to not only attract people of all ages, but college kids like yourself and your audience, but to lead them. And my leadership style is, hey guys, I'm going, I want you to come with me. You know, there's other people in this race and other people I know whose leadership style is, you folks go on, and I'll come along in a little bit.
So that's a way to energize a certain base instead of just the older people.
People pay attention when I tell them my schedule. They pay attention to when I tell them about things I'm interested in, both politically and in my family life. And I'm good about that. Twitter. Yeah. Ask your folks to follow me on Twitter. It's A. Dulin. The @ A. Dulin.
A. Dulin. Cool. Yeah, a lot of people following you on Twitter, by the way. So
we're
talking more than just policy.
I use Twitter and Facebook more than any other elected official that I know, literally, to communicate with folks, and I use it very well. And I let folks know what I'm up to on both my work schedule, but also my family schedule. If I'm sitting at a Bobcats game one night with one of my sons, I want folks to know that. By the way, they lost to the Sixers last night. It was awful.
I'm so surprised.
I know, the Sixers are good. Well, we almost had them.
I'm so surprised they lost. They're on the losing streak anyway, it seems like. Let's keep it more on the federal level.
Right.
The education system is now, obviously, it's trickled down, and the federal government funds the education system. What do you think of the federal government being able to fund the education system and bring it down to the states?
Well, it turns out that's a great question, because I'm more interested in getting the decision-making down to the states level and down to the local level. It turns out the 10th Amendment of the Constitution has to do with states' rights. And it would be fine with me if we got the federal government out of the education business and brought that money to the states and let the states decide how we best could spend our money. So, we would eliminate the bureaucracy of education at the federal level. And it's easy to say that. It's tougher to pull it off. But we need to have that conversation and bring that down to the states, the people in Raleigh, and then bring it down to the people in Mecklenburg County and Iredell County and Union County. They know best where the money can be spent because they're on the ground right here.
Yeah. Another thing, sticking with education, talk to us about the idea of new inventions about some of the policy, the education policies. What else do you want to do as keeping everything the same?
Well, let me bring that down a little bit farther below the secondary education that you folks are here at UNCC. My 3 sons are 18, getting ready to be 16, and 12. They've all got computers. They all text on their cell phones all day long. But even the 18-year-old kid doesn't email. I mean, y'all email. At your age bracket, you email. Well, these kids that are younger than you, they don't even communicate by email much. Now, they're going to have to pick up that skill. And that's a very basic skill. So we've got to be able to tell the younger kids how to communicate better. Picking up a telephone is second nature to me and to my generation. But folks your age and younger sometimes don't have good telephone communication skills. So we got to keep things basic and let the big things take care of themselves. I would continue technology, and at the same time make sure we try to grow children that can communicate with each other.
Yeah, as you know, Washington is a really nasty town.
That's too bad.
Everything sounds really good, but once you get there, you have the lobbyists coming to you. You have so many people trying to get money. You got to raise money.
That's right.
How are you going to stay grounded and continue to be Andy Dulin?
Well, the congressional seats aren't just real. They're certainly not sexy, but they're not real appetizing if you have to go and stay. The way I want to go grounded, it's really more like a traveling salesman, because the congressional member leaves their home on Monday and comes back home on Thursday or Friday. So it's you travel up there, you work, and you come home. One of the ways I want to stay grounded is stay in complete touch with my kids and my wife, of course, and spend as much time home in the district as I can. Where we live in Charlotte, it's very centrally located to Iredell County in the north and Union County in the south. Other congressional members that I know that have kids in high school, like mine will be, one will be in college next year, they've told me that they've listened to entire basketball games on the speakerphone while the wife has held the phone up. And those are sacrifices that you miss some of those games. But I think it's a worthy cause to go to Washington for Andy Dulin at this time, at this moment, and give all my passion and my voice to the folks that live here.
Yeah, we're talking about how will you be able to work with John Boehner and the Obama administration coming from the stickers? Sue Myrick was really open with them and vocal.
Right. Sometimes she pushed back with him. Yeah. And of course, it'll be easier to work with Boehner than it would have been if Nancy Pelosi was still in charge, from my standpoint. Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day, because I'm interested in working on banking-related issues because of all the banking jobs we have here in Charlotte. I think that's something Sue has missed a little bit. Mel Watt is very involved in the banking industries, and I would like to be involved. And somebody said, well, how do you plan on getting on those committees? I said, well, the first thing I'm going to go do is introduce myself to John Boehner and ask him. And he'll see the passion. He knows Charlotte's the second largest banking center on the East Coast. And so those are the kind of things that will interest me. And particularly those are things that I don't work on now on the city council level, that I'll be able to, as the term goes, raise my game up.
Yeah. What kind of policies that are implemented now, that are in place now, that you would like to see change? Healthcare, and so on.
Well, it's easy to say you're going to go up there and repeal Obamacare, but I'm going to go up there and my vote will be to repeal Obamacare. And the folks I'm going to make friends with, whether it's John Boehner or Eric Cantor or other just members of the House, are going to be the ones that agree with me on that. Those are the folks I'm going to go make friends with and have lunch with and learn from and tell them where I'm coming from, we can repeal. As a father of 3 sons, our co-pays have jumped now to $40, and we make a lot of doctor's visits. Thankfully, my wife and I both work, and we can afford to take our children to the doctors. There are a lot of folks out there that can't take their children to the doctor when they can. So those folks that absolutely are destitute and need medical care, absolutely we have to fund them and get them medical care. But there are a lot of folks out there that can do more to help themselves than we're doing. And Obamacare has raised the prices of everything and hurt jobs. It's hurt the industry. I think it's hurting America.
Yeah. I want to get your thoughts on the race for North Carolina gubernatorialship.
Right.
Pat McCrory is running, and several other Democrats is running. What do you think?
I think Pat McCrory is right, like Andy, same thing as I think Andy Dulin for the 9th Congressional, is the right man at the right time. And McCrory has done a fine job of leading from the front here in Charlotte as mayor for 14 years. And remember, he got wide support from the entire community, both Republican and Democrat, and he worked on hard issues like the light rail and so forth. He lost narrowly to Beverly Perdue 4 years ago, and I think North Carolina has paid a price for that loss. And then he has kept himself current, kept himself out in the public, and kept himself all over the state of North Carolina. And I'm going to work hard for Pat. He'll make us a fine governor. I think it's interesting that he has never been to the governor's mansion in Raleigh. You know.
Quickly, before we end, I would like to ask what I call softball questions for people to get to know who the candidate is. Whoever I'm interviewing, I like to get to know other things that we wouldn't know about the person. So my first question is, what's your all-time favorite movie?
The Longest Day. It's a black and white movie about the D-Day invasion. It's got all of the greats, Charlton Heston, all of the greats when they were young. Well, they weren't so young, but this movie was made not too long after World War II. I was born in Germany in 1959 when my dad was in the army. It was peacetime then, but the World War II generation, it is like they've said, the greatest generation, and there will never be another. That group of men and women literally saved the world, and that movie tells the story of D-Day, and I love it.
Yeah. All right. Mentor. Who's your mentor?
I have a lot of them. As a matter of fact, I had lunch with one of them yesterday named Jim Ross. Jim Ross is an African-American Republican. He worked in both of Jim Martin's gubernatorial offices back in the 80s. He and another gentleman by the name of James K. Polk, who died a year ago. For some reason, I met those two men right after I got out of college in App. We've been lunch buddies now for going on 30 years. And Jim Ross and I got together yesterday. When I sit down with him, I mean, he tells me about the civil rights. He tells me about things that were going on in Charlotte. He's jacked up about my congressional run and really proud of me. And so I've got many mentors, but I had lunch with one of them yesterday, Jim Ross.
First job?
I was selling advertising in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was a travel and tourism major at App because I wanted to go into the advertising business. Early on, I realized that the tourism business, and we all know it now, tourists spend a lot of money, and to know where they are and to understand where they are, I understood that right away when I was in school, and I wanted to study that and then work in the advertising business.
If you can change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I tell you what, my wife and I have 3 sons, and we always wanted a little girl. I'd added a little girl to the family. And so I've told her that our 3 sons will give us 3 daughters someday. That's a pretty good answer.
Yeah.
I just came up with that too. That's a good answer.
All right. What do you consider your greatest success?
Well, my wife and my 3 kids are right up there at the top. And the other thing is being here in Charlotte, being involved in Charlotte, and having a little bit of something to do with its growth. It would be pretty neat. And the other thing about my years on city council, I've said this many times, is that 20 years from now, if they want to talk about Andy Dulin being on the city council for this small number of years, if they want to say that my legacy was that I helped bring Rodney Monroe to Charlotte, that'd be fine with me. Because we hired Rodney, and he has brought safety to most of this community. Now, we're all more safe, except for if it's your back door that gets kicked in. Then crime is up 1,000%. But Rodney Monroe came to our town. He rearranged the police officers. He gave the sergeant level guys accountability, and they bought into that system, and our community's safer. So that's something I'm very, very proud of, is helping bring Rodney Monroe here.
Tell us something that the average person wouldn't know about Andy Dulin. Away from TV cameras.
I've had an active athletic life, as well as an active family life, and I enjoy doing those sports with my kids now. We try to ski and my kids snowboard as often as we can. When I was younger, I climbed a couple of relatively tall mountains. I'll jump out of an airplane if you'll give me a Saturday morning off to go do it and skydive. And I've been fortunate enough to do quite a bit of scuba diving all over the world too. So I've had a very fun, full, interesting life that really is all coming into this point now where I'm prepared to go to Congress and serve. I mean, it's all coming together right at the right time.
Yeah. Reese cups or Reese pieces?
Cups.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
And the final one, and this can take you down, Duke or Carolina?
Duke. My parents went to Duke, man. But listen, I went to App, so that means it's like Switzerland. I can pull for anybody I want.
Come on now.
But I tell you what, I am pulling for Carolina now in NCAA.
See, then
Carolina, and I'm pulling for ACC.
No, come on, you got to stick with. No, all right.
No, I'm not diehard because I didn't go to one of those two schools, but I will pull for Duke versus Carolina. But I'm always ACC above any other conference.
All right. How can people get in contact with you?
Thank you very much. A couple of ways. My Twitter handle is @ADulin. My Facebook every day, it's Andy Dulin. Look me up on Facebook and let's be friends. And then my cell phone number. I give everybody my cell phone number because it comes right to me, nobody else. It's 704-968-8776. 968-8776.
All right, guys. The one and only Andy Dulin. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. It's a pleasure to have you here, and look forward to seeing you next week. Same time, same place.
Thank you very much. That was fun.
Yeah, great.